Disclaimer: this story contains mature themes intended for adult viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. It started with the sound of the water dripping off my hair, echoing faintly in the quiet apartment. I had just stepped out of the shower, wrapped in nothing but a towel, still damp and warm from the steam. The soft fabric clung to my skin, and I sank onto the couch, intending to catch my breath, not expecting him to follow. But he did. Without a word, he sat down beside me. Too close. The kind of close where your skin knows the difference between space and tension. His arm brushed against my thigh, once, twice, like a question he wasn't asking out loud. I didn't move. Neither did he. There was no apology. No awkward laugh. Just silence and that steady rhythm of touch, too casual to be innocent, too repetitive to be accidental. I felt the shift. In the air. In me. In him. The glow from the TV painted flickers of light on his jawline. He wasn't a boy anymore, not the awkward, distant stepson I remembered. There was something carved and confident about him now. And yet, there was still that lingering hesitation in his breath. That held-back storm in his eyes. He didn't speak. He just sat there, letting his skin tell a story he wouldn't dare say out loud. I finally turned my head. Slowly. Our eyes met and stayed there. That look, it wasn't playful. It wasn't safe. It was deep, searching, full of all the things neither of us were supposed to feel. I saw it in the way his gaze softened, and then sharpened. The way he almost leaned in, but didn't. As if he knew, if we moved even an inch closer, we'd cross a line we couldn't uncross. Who are we now? And how did we end up here, tangled in a silence that says everything? And then, just like that, he shifted. Barely. His arm brushed mine again, just enough for me to feel the heat of his skin. I didn't pull away. The room felt smaller now. Or maybe it was just the way he looked at me, like he was seeing me for the first time, or maybe like he'd always seen me and was only just letting it show. My heart thudded loud enough I was sure he could hear it. But he didn't flinch. He just stayed there, watching me with that unreadable gaze, his arms still grazing mine, the contact so subtle yet impossible to ignore. "You're cold," he said softly, almost in a whisper, like the moment didn't belong to the world outside this room. I swallowed. I'm fine. But I wasn't. Not in the way he meant. He didn't move away. If anything, he shifted slightly closer. Barely enough to change the space between us, but enough to change everything else. His scent reached me, clean, warm, unmistakably him. I glanced down at the towel, suddenly too aware of how little it covered, of how the steam from my shower hadn't yet left my skin, or my thoughts. "I shouldn't be here," I said, not sure if I meant the couch, the towel, or just this, whatever this was becoming. He didn't answer right away. His fingers grazed the edge of the couch cushion, right next to where my hand rested. He didn't touch me. Not directly. But my skin tingled anyway, as if his nearness was enough to set every nerve alight. His voice was low when he finally spoke. "You keep saying that, but you don't move away either." My breath caught. I turned my face toward him, slowly, like gravity was dragging my gaze to his. Our eyes locked again, and this time, neither of us blinked. He looked conflicted. Wanting. Waiting. Like he was caught between doing what he should and what he needed. "I don't know what we're doing," I whispered. "Neither do I," he admitted. "But I know what I feel right now." I looked at his lips. Then back into his eyes. And I knew, whatever was happening, it wasn't just me. But before I could speak, his pinky finger gently curled around mine. Just that. A whisper of touch. A silent question. I didn't let go. The pinky touch stayed, small and innocent in theory, but in reality it was everything. A firework disguised as a whisper. My breath caught in my throat as I stared down at our hands, not quite holding, not quite letting go. He exhaled slowly, like he was steadying something inside him. "I don't want to make you uncomfortable," he said, his voice a notch deeper, huskier. "You can tell me to stop." "I will." I looked at him, really looked, and saw it. The restraint. The ache. The line he was trying not to cross, even as we both stood right on its edge. My heart beat like a war drum, fast and reckless, but I couldn't say the word. I couldn't tell him to stop. Because I didn't want him to. But I also couldn't tell him to keep going. There was too much in the way. Memories. Years. Titles. That ridiculous label society had placed on us, one that didn't feel real in moments like this, when all that existed was the heat between us and the breathless silence we kept falling into. "I can't," I started to say, but even I didn't know how to finish it. His eyes searched mine. "Can't what?" I looked away, toward the window where the last bit of sunlight was fading into night. My chest rose and fell with the weight of the moment. "I can't want this, but I do." The words hung there, bare, trembling, full of honesty and fear. His hand inched closer, fingertips grazing mine again, more purposeful this time. My skin prickled. "You think I don't?" he asked, his voice barely more than a breath. "I'm trying not to show it, but God, it's killing me." He looked down, almost ashamed. And when he did, something in me broke a little, not from regret, but from how badly I wished things were different. I turned back to him slowly, watching the way his jaw clenched, the way his knuckles whitened with tension. He wasn't some reckless boy, he was holding back because he cared. And that made it worse. I reached up as if to touch his face, but stopped inches away. My fingers hovered midair, suspended in a decision I wasn't ready to make. He looked up. And in that split second, neither of us moved. But everything inside us did. The silence between us had shape now, thick, heavy, almost touchable. Every breath felt louder, every heartbeat deeper. We sat frozen, but something inside us had already moved too far. My hand still hovered, trembling near his face. He didn't reach for it, didn't lean into it, but his eyes never left mine. They begged and warned all at once. I let my fingers fall gently, not on his skin, but on the edge of his shirt, near his shoulder. Just fabric. Just safety. But my pulse betrayed me. So did his. I could feel his breath shift. Shallow. Unsteady. He looked down at where my fingers barely touched him, then slowly raised his eyes. There was no hiding now. Not from him. Not from myself. "Say something," I whispered, my voice raw, aching. "Anything." He exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for years. Then finally, he spoke. "I think about you," he said. The words came out low, quiet, almost like he wished I wouldn't hear them. More than I should. More than I know I'm allowed to. I blinked, stunned by how naked that truth was. He didn't try to soften it. He didn't backpedal. He just kept looking at me, like the words had cost him something. My throat tightened. "Then why haven't you?" He reached up slowly, brushing a strand of wet hair from my cheek. His fingers lingered, not bold, but desperate to memorize. "Because if I touch you the way I want to," he paused, swallowing hard, "I don't know if I'll be able to stop." And there it was, the truth we'd both danced around. The reason for the distance. The fear. The pull. I leaned in, just slightly. Our foreheads nearly touched. I could feel the warmth of his skin, smell the faint scent of something familiar and maddening. My towel slipped slightly at the shoulder, not revealing, just enough to make the air cooler against my skin. He noticed. Of course he did. But he didn't reach. Didn't take. His restraint was louder than any touch could have been. "I'm scared," I said. His voice cracked. "Me too." And then we just stayed like that, suspended in that unbearable, perfect, impossible moment. So close. The rain started just past midnight, soft at first, like a lullaby against the windows. It made the air cooler, quieter, like the world had stepped back and left just the two of us in this suspended, breathless space. The towel had long slipped off my shoulder, and I hadn't fixed it. Not because I wanted to tease, but because it didn't matter anymore. He wasn't looking at Skin. He was looking at me. Like I was a secret he'd waited years to open. Neither of us said a word. We didn't have to. The light from the lamp painted golden shadows across his face, making the sharp line of his jaw look softer. His fingers moved slowly, reverent, careful, tracing the side of my neck as if he wasn't sure I was real. My skin rose under his touch, not from cold, but from the sudden storm of feeling he awoke in me. When he leaned in, it wasn't rushed. His lips brushed against mine, a whisper of a kiss, not claiming, just asking. But in that breathless second, I felt my whole body lean into him, my breath catching, my hands curling into his shirt. His mouth was warm, hesitant, like he still didn't know if this was allowed. But then I kissed him back. And it changed everything. His breath melted into mine. Our mouths spoke in silence, slow and deep, as if we were tasting every second we denied ourselves. It wasn't wild. It wasn't rushed. It was intimate, the kind of closeness that felt like falling and landing all at once. When his hands slid to my waist, he touched me like I was something breakable. I let my fingers find the back of his neck, feeling the tension melt under my touch. I could feel him holding back, even now, every movement soaked in restraint. But that restraint only made it more intense. Because I knew how much he wanted to lose control. And yet, he didn't. We didn't speak. Our bodies spoke the words we hadn't dared say. The things that made no sense and all the sense in the world. When his forehead pressed to mine, our noses brushing, eyes still closed. I felt tears sting the back of my eyes. Not from guilt. But from the overwhelming truth that this, whatever this was, had been inevitable. "I've never," he whispered, breath shaky against my lips. "I know," I breathed back. And when we finally sank into the couch, wrapped around each other, it wasn't just about want. It was about knowing. The rain poured harder outside, but inside, the world was still, soft lighting, tangled limbs, skin against skin with nothing loud, nothing crude. Just quiet urgency. And everything we had no words for. The morning light crept in slowly, soft and indifferent, like it didn't know what the night had held. I woke up first. Still on the couch. Still tangled with him. One of his arms lay across my waist, heavy with sleep. His breath, warm and steady, brushed the top of my shoulder. The room smelled like rain and skin and something unspoken, a mix of comfort and consequence. I didn't move. Not yet. I just watched him, the way his lashes fluttered slightly, the way his chest rose and fell like nothing had changed. But everything had. My thoughts buzzed louder than the quiet hum of the world outside. Was it love? Was it need? Or had we both just fallen into a moment we didn't know how to stop? I gently slid out from under his arm. He stirred but didn't wake. The towel I'd worn was somewhere beneath us. I pulled the throw blanket from the side of the couch and wrapped it around me, suddenly cold, and not just from the air. In the kitchen, I poured a glass of water with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. My reflection in the microwave door looked different. Like I was still me, but also someone who'd crossed a line she could never uncross. I didn't regret it. But I didn't know how to carry it either. Then came the knock. 3 soft raps on the door. I froze. Another knock. Louder this time. He stirred again behind me, sitting up slowly, rubbing his face. What time is it? I didn't answer. I was staring at the door like it had whispered a secret I wasn't ready to hear. Another knock. He stood now, shirt wrinkled, eyes still clouded with sleep and memory. Are you expecting someone? I shook my head. We both knew no one should be here. A beat of silence. Then I stepped toward the door, heart racing, bare feet against cold floor. I hesitated before opening it. The door creaked slightly, and standing there was her. His mother. My voice caught in my throat. She looked at me. Then past me. Her eyes narrowed, just slightly. Did I come at a bad time? My silence was the only answer I had. The door had barely closed behind her when the weight of the morning settled in. She hadn't said much, just enough to let us know she knew. Or maybe felt. Mothers don't always need words, they just see. And the way her eyes lingered on the couch, on the blanket clutched around my shoulders, on him, said everything. For a while, we didn't speak. The apartment was too quiet, like even the walls were holding their breath. He stood by the window, hands in his pockets, staring out like he might find answers in the rain-soaked sky. I watched him from the kitchen, where the glass of water I never finished sat untouched. I don't want to lose this, he finally said. His voice broke something inside me. I don't want to pretend last night didn't mean anything, he added, quieter now, almost afraid of the echo. I crossed the room slowly, stopping just behind him. My hand reached for his, threading our fingers together. Warm. Steady. Familiar, now. It meant everything, I whispered. But sometimes meaning everything doesn't mean it's easy. He turned to face me then, really face me. His eyes were tired, raw, but soft in that way you look at someone when you see them. Not just their body. Their soul. So what do we do? He asked. I rested my forehead against his chest, listening to the rhythm of his heart. We breathe, I murmured. We move slowly. We don't run from it, but we don't rush it either. His arms came around me, tentative at first, then all at once. And in that embrace, I felt something settle. Peace. Not the kind that comes from answers. But the kind that comes from acceptance. We didn't speak of what tomorrow held. We didn't promise forever. We just stood there, wrapped in each other, as the rain finally began to fade outside. Later, when he kissed my forehead, soft, still, lips lingering like a vow, I knew whatever this was, it had changed us both. And whatever happened next, we'd never forget the night everything became real.